What's up, fellas? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the only 5 MVP candidates that matter to me right now in the NBA. There are 5 guys that I think if you close your eyes right now and you just point at one of them on a list, you've got a pretty good shot of one of them winning the MVP this season. It's not that they've separated themselves so clearly from the rest of the pack, because I think there's a lot of players that are having really, really good seasons. But the context of each of these guys and how well they're playing to this point makes me feel confident that one of these 5 players is going to win the MVP this season. We're going to talk about that as well as the MVP race as a whole in today's video. But really quickly before we get started, if you're new here, what's up? My name is Tucker. I upload NBA content on this channel twice a day, every single day. So if you're looking for the most consistent NBA content on YouTube, you found it. So consider subscribing. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well if you're enjoying them, and check me out at various socials in a link tree down in the description below. With all those things said, let's go and get started. And I don't necessarily have these in an order. I do have a favorite for the MVP at the moment, and then I think everybody else is just slightly behind, kind of jumbled up in any order you want to. So we'll begin there. Again, this is a list of 5 players, but I think at the top of the list right now, if we voted for MVP today and I had a vote, my vote would be for Joel Embiid. And the other 4 guys here, we can kind of have this conversation as a whole. I think it makes more sense for you guys to just go ahead and see the whole list now, is Embiid, LeBron, KD, Jokic, and Steph. Let's begin with Embiid, though. Philadelphia has one of the best defenses in the league, and Embiid has a lot to do with that. He is a guy that has shown Defensive Player of the Year caliber play defensively in the past, and he has now matched that with more efficient scoring than he's ever shown in the past, 40% three-point shooting, and availability and health more than any other that we've ever seen in his career to this point. I think we've all kind of known that Joel Embiid is one of the best players in the league when fully healthy, one of the most dominant players in the league when fully healthy. And if he continues that health, I don't have any wood to knock on here. If I did, I would. He's going to continue to be one of the most dominant players in the league, as he has been to begin this season. Now, can he sustain it for the entire year? We'll see. But just through this stretch so far, when it comes to the dominance in the post, when it comes to the face-up game, when it comes to the three-point shot, Joel Embiid has been fantastic. There are other things going while they're in Philadelphia. The Seth Curry addition has been nice. Tobias Harris has had a nice year. Ben Simmons is an all-defense caliber guy now for this group, certainly helping them, with that strong defense that I mentioned earlier. But for me right now, if you're talking about impact, if you're talking about statistics, if you're talking about the whole package, Joel Embiid is your MVP so far, and it helps as well that he's never won an MVP, which he is one of only 2 people out of this entire list that he's never won one. And as I continue to mention in the past, unless you are a guy, unless you're a guy that just won the MVP, which would be Giannis, or you're LeBron, typically we're getting first-time winners here. So, Embiid would kind of fall into that. Be interesting to see a big man, a true big, win an MVP for the first time in a long time. Next up is LeBron, and I do feel like LeBron needs to be mentioned in any kind of MVP case. And I think right now, if we voted, I think he would probably get the second most votes out of any of these players, partially because, he deserves it. He's been fantastic. When you look at any statistical measurement, any analytic, anything you need to see from LeBron, he's been incredible. But I also think that there is, a bit of a narrative here, and people are grading on a bit of a curve, considering not only that, LeBron is as good as he is, not only that the Lakers are as good as they are, not only that the record is as good as it is, but also that he's this good at his advanced age, which I believe now is 36 years old, or I don't even know, 37, 36, something like that. And so it's not like a lifetime achievement award, but it's like people were voting relative to LeBron's age at this point. I don't think he's been the best player in the league. I think that's been Embiid. But if you want to make the case for LeBron for MVP, I think it's a pretty easy case to make. The Lakers are one of the best teams in the league, and LeBron has everything to do with that, and his statistics are incredible, and we all know that he's one of the best players in the league. So I don't really think that you can make an argument against LeBron. I just think Embiid has been slightly better, and again, if we're voting today, I would go with Embiid. The other guy to mention here, though, that I think, if you're someone that's into, betting or something, I think Kevin Durant is a really, really interesting guy to potentially look at for MVP here. I don't have the odds in front of me, but if you're looking at someone that isn't necessarily a front runner like an Embiid or like a LeBron, I think Kevin Durant's an interesting guy to take a look at. As long as he's healthy the rest of the year, this Nets team is going to be able to score an absolute ton of points. And I think the expectations for this team are starting to lower a little bit to the point where, if they're the 3rd seed in the East rather than the top seed, people could convince themselves that if KD's averaging 32 a game, that he actually could be the MVP and that he's the guy kind of holding everything together because he's the guy that can play off the ball a little bit. He can play a little bit more defense than the other two stars there in Brooklyn and kind of holds everything together as kind of the glue guy star amongst all those guys, in addition to being one of the leading scorers in the league. So I think the case there for Kevin Durant is interesting, and there's a reason why he is on this list amongst the 5 players that, again, I feel like if you close your eyes and you point at one of them is probably going to win the MVP this season. I think the case for KD is strong, albeit not as strong as it is for LeBron and for Embiid. Next up, another big guy, Nikola Jokic. Jokic has been trying to sneak into the MVP conversation for years, and I think this year he is certainly a part of that conversation. The Nuggets record needs to continue to get better, but they've been dealing with a variety of issues, as has every team in the league. But whenever you have not only a player whose statistics are as good as Jokic's, but his skill set is as unique as it is at his position, that's going to get headlines. There's going to be a narrative created around that. And for the most part, the MVP has been a really narrative-based award over the years. And so as a result, Nikola Jokic is going to be firmly in this MVP conversation. And then last up, when we're talking about narratives, Steph Curry needs to be brought up because in the beginning of the year, the Warriors didn't look great. We didn't know how it was going to look. And Steph has been, arguably, this is one of the greatest scoring efficiency stretches that we've seen in the league in the last 10 to 15 years, the way that Steph is playing right now. I mean, it has been absolutely incredible to watch him night to night absolutely go off, and he's making a ton of threes, and he looks like Steph again. His statistics are on par with either of his MVP seasons, and if you're just going by that metric, Steph absolutely needs to be in the MVP conversation. So again, these are the 5 guys that I would keep an eye on. Now, another thing to pay attention to here, if you're looking specifically at someone like Jokic, KD, or Steph, is that, as I've mentioned in I think 3 or 4 videos at this point, the MVP typically needs to be in the top 2 in their respective conference in the standings to win the MVP, with the only exception in the last handful of years being the Russell Westbrook year when the Thunder were the 5th or 6th seed, which makes it difficult, in my opinion, for especially Steph and Jokic to end up winning the MVP unless they go on crazy runs to get into that top 2, or maybe they can manage the 3rd seed. And then even KD on the Nets as well. You don't know really what their regular season record is going to be. And right now, they're obviously in position to be a top 2 or top 3 seed, but they could obviously slip at any point because the roster is so reliant on these types of stars. So that's something to consider. So with that in mind, I think it's going to be Embiid or LeBron. If Embiid misses significant time at any point, I think LeBron pretty easily slides into the number 1 spot there. And then assuming that he stays healthy and the Lakers continue to play extremely well, if the Lakers have the 1 or the 2 seed and Embiid falls off a little bit, I think LeBron is probably going to end up winning the MVP. And I think he wants to win the MVP. I think it's pretty clear that is, kind of a goal of his for this season. He's still going to coast through it, but he really wants to add another MVP to his resume. And I think he's going to have a really good shot to do it. It's unfortunate that some of the other guys that I was excited about before this season have not stepped up into the MVP conversation. My preseason prediction was Luka, with the caveat that I knew it was going to be a bit more difficult for them to get into that top 4, top 3 seed that they needed to in order to win the MVP. And right now, it kind of seems like that's coming to fruition. They've had injury issues. They've had guys miss games for other reasons. And the talent just isn't really there, especially if Porzingis isn't going to be healthy. So unfortunately, someone like Luka appears to be kind of lower down on the totem pole than I would have hoped that he would be within the MVP conversation. But as I continue to say, if you're someone that likes to try and predict these things, I think you got to pick one of these 5 guys right now. And maybe, someone steps up and has a crazy end of the year. Maybe it is Luka. Maybe it is Dame. Maybe it's one of the guys from the Jazz, maybe it's Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert. That's not going to be Rudy Gobert. Maybe it's Donovan Mitchell that steps up into the top 3 of the MVP conversation because the Jazz go on a ridiculous run and continue to play incredibly well. Maybe it will be one of those surprise guys. Maybe Giannis comes out of nowhere and tries to win this 3rd in a row. I think that's unlikely because people just get tired of voting for the same guy over and over, so I don't think that's very likely. But ultimately, we haven't played as very much of the season relative to, the entire number here, so it's difficult to make predictions and really make an opinion about the MVP stuff right now. But that's why the list is expanded to 5, and that's one of the reasons why I feel so confident is these are 5 incredibly talented players, and I think right now if I had to rank them in terms of their likelihood to win the MVP this year, I would go Embiid, LeBron, KD, Jokic, and then Steph. Those two guys at the bottom specifically because I think it's going to be difficult to get their record where it needs to be in order to win the MVP. Let me know down in the comment section below if you think any of these guys are going to win it, if you think someone else needs to be mentioned here, if you think I'm completely forgetting about someone, or out of these 5 guys, who you think is most likely to potentially win the MVP this season. With all those things said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like rating. Check out various videos from me. The boxes on screen as well as on the channel as a whole. And again, you can check me out at various socials in that link tree down in the description below. With all those things said, once again, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.